And so we're all just curious, will there ever be a time when you two will have a conversation? And where does your relationship stand with Jalen Rose now?
We don't really have a relationship. I've never talked about anything with the Fab Five or anything, and so when he broke that code, you know, to what I feel further his career, that hurt me as a man.
Yeah.
Because they don't love us.
Yeah.
That's how we built the Fab Five. They don't love us. So to give them what they want and become one of them now when you can always be yourself and hold your integrity, that really hurt me. And so we're brothers, and so I love him, but he was on some.
I don't need to talk about him to further my career. I don't sell out. I am not a media shield. I do not sell my soul in order to talk about sports on television. I'm frank about what I do. I'm legitimate about my craft, and I hope that these conversations don't continue to happen. Because I'm not going to do this every time he do an interview. Go back and talk about what he said. Was it right? Was it wrong? I'm honest. I'm 1,000 about what I speak. There's in any way, shape, or form, there's no lie in me. So hopefully that level of the relationship that he has with the school can be repaired, and then the legacy of the Fab Five and the University of Michigan can be unlocked for all of the individuals that I discussed.
On this edition of We Talk beef. The beef between Chris Webber and Jalen Rose. If you're listening to this on Instagram, please give us a follow. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe. But let's talk about this beef, shall we, between Chris Webber and Jalen Rose. Both players were members of the University of Michigan as part of the Fab Five, the famous Fab Five. It consisted of Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson. They were the first team in NCAA history to compete for the championship game with all freshman starters. They would eventually lose to the Duke Blue Devils, who had, I believe it was Grant Hill and Christian Laettner. They would go on the next year and also make it to the finals, which they were kind of more expected to get there. This time they would lose to North Carolina, and we all know what happened there, or most of us know what's happened in that game where
You know what's so crazy, bro?
What's that?
So I was talking to one of my little nephews, right? And I was like, yeah, man, the Fab Five will forever be known. Just talking. And then he was like, the who?
The what?
This is the Fab Five. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, Chris Webber, Jalen Rose. He was like, Chris Webber played in the NBA?
Right, bro. No, you're absolutely right.
So long.
Yeah.
It's been so long, bro. Like, if you think about it, Chris Webber's heyday when he was playing the Lakers it was like in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Some of these cats were like my nephew. He's 15. He wasn't even born.
Right.
He wasn't born, bro. So that's what makes this conversation even doper to me, is because I'm not an old head, but I certainly remember the Fab Five.
Right.
And this beef is this is a long lasting beef, bro. This ain't something where it's been a little bit. It's taken the course of decades.
Right. Chris Webber was the better player in the NBA. Let's just put it out there. And then Jalen Rose was good as well. He played alongside Reggie Miller in those Indiana Pacers teams, and they went to a finals appearance with Jalen Rose. But I mean, the timeout, I think that's kind of what started the beef between them, because he didn't come back the next year. The next year he declared for the draft, and he was drafted by the Golden State Warriors. And then those four individuals on the Fab Four, they will continue to play. They didn't make it as far as the championship that year. They made it to the Elite Eight, but they played without Chris Webber. And so that was kind of the beginning of them kind of separating and going their own ways. But as far as what escalated it would be the scandal that they had with Ed Martin. Ed Martin was
I think it was a booster, bro.
Yeah, I think it was a booster too. But he was a booster, and Chris Webber denied everything about that. He would not take into account that he took money from him. He just would not do it, man. And I think that's where he made the biggest mistake there, was not acknowledging that he took any money from Ed Martin. And I think that's where they kind of even more separated. And then Jalen Rose.
That's where the gulf happened. And the thing that makes me, I mean, I've always loved Chris Webber, so I've always fallen on Chris Webber's side of this. I would say the only thing with, and I don't know them, like me saying this, I'm not part of their conversation, but it just always annoyed me, and to this day, it annoys me how Jalen Rose talks about the situation when he does talk about it publicly. It's like, oh, so you left us behind kind of deal. And it's like, nah, bro. Why would he admit to something like that and make him look like the villain? Because like you said, there's no doubt in college and in the NBA, Chris Webber was the bigger player and the bigger star. So right. I don't like the way he I don't want to say he threw him under the bus, but I can see how Chris Webber would feel that way.
I mean, Chris Webber has always thought of it as Jalen Rose was trolling him into trying to say something. He was always trying to egg him on and just trying to provoke him to say something about the Fab Five or their situation. After the scandal, Chris Webber was kind of banned from having any association with Michigan. The Michigan Wolverines actually made it to the championship, and you could see all four members there in the crowd, which would be Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson. But then Chris Webber was up in his own little private suite doing his own little thing. So he was, it seemed from what I was seeing is like he was trying to disassociate himself from the Fab Five. Jalen Rose and those guys, they also had a documentary that they did, and they said that they did invite Chris Webber on to be on a documentary, but he declined. The way Chris Webber explained it, he was on whose show was that he was on? He was on the Dan Patrick Show, and he explained it that they did try to get him to be on the documentary, but it was like a week or so before the documentary started. And he said that was just too much. That was too little time to actually be on a documentary. Jimmy King said that was an absolute flat out lie, that that's not how it happened. And Jalen Rose went as far as to say that after he declined, he went back and tried to get a documentary with HBO. So there was been a lot said between the two. This is what Chris Webber had to say when he was on the Dan Patrick Show.
I think it was okay, except I think it was. It looked like you know what happens. A lot of people after they retire, or when they're looking for a job, or when they want to be relevant, they go back in time and kind of make sure their importance is.
They embellish.
Is really known. Yeah, and my whole thing it's always been about us five. And so when one guy has a million highlights in there of himself, like he was the leading scorer, when like the stories are all like, after and embellished, it's just a little hard for me. And but I think it was entertaining. There was a lot of truth in it. And, I think it was definitely good. It was okay. Yeah, it was good.
So that's him talking about the actual documentary. And he had a lot of other stuff to say. But, I mean, that's what he said. But then Jalen Rose came back. He really did not like that quote. And, you talk about beefs. When you talk about like this, what Chris Webber said was like Drake's single. What Jalen Rose said was like Pusha T to me. Because it was like he came back and he came back hard. This is what Jalen Rose said. One dude traveled and then called timeout. One dude lied to grand jury and hasn't apologized. One dude tried to circumvent the documentary to HBO. One dude ignored multiple requests from everyone involved after agreeing to participate. One dude played like Obama and sat in the suite during Michigan's recent title game. One dude slandered Ed Martin after all he did for him and his family. One dude is not in contact with the other four. One dude's been doing a rebuttal documentary for 4 years. One dude is clearly delusional and still in denial. So Jalen Rose went all in.
See, that's the part I don't like. It's the traveling part, bro. So we've hooped in the league before, and the viewers don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and tell them. We hooped in the league before where we had somebody who was a family member put the ball on the wrong basket.
Oh, boy.
But the thing is,
I hope that isn't, bro. We're sorry.
Member, bro. You don't bring that up. Like, even when it gets super heated, Jalen Rose showed how he really feels about that situation. And I can see why Chris Webber felt and maybe still feels some type of way about that. I would hope. Have they reconciled in any way? Like, in any way, have they reconciled?
I don't think they have, honestly. I think there have been mentions of them trying to reconcile. There have been mentions of them trying to get the Fab Five all together in one place. I think when Jalen not Jalen. I think when Juwan Howard actually became the coach of Michigan, that there was a little
I
bit.
was looking forward to seeing that.
Right. There was a little bit more camaraderie there, but it really hasn't been settled. And, some things aren't going to be settled, man. Some beef is just bigger than that.
I hope they're all getting the room before, like, I obviously don't want none of them to pass. But if that were to happen, if they didn't do it, they'd all feel real stupid.
Yeah, and they will realize.
But I would really, really love, because if you follow the NCAA this season, Michigan was phenomenal.
Yes.
With Juwan Howard coaching them. So I was hoping they would get to a Final Four or even to a championship game. It didn't work out that way. But I'll be real interested to see if Juwan Howard does get to a championship game, if they're able to reconcile at that moment. Because at that point, it's like, come on, fellas, let's get this taken care of, because they mean so much to the culture, bro.
No doubt. That whole Michigan team meant so much to the culture. You used to come out with the black shirts. They changed the culture of college basketball with the Fab Five. It is still amazing what they did. An all freshman basketball team going to the national championship, that's unheard of. That's how good they were. And to see both of those guys, it's not just about what they did in college, it's what they're doing post college, which makes it kind of sad. It would be different if one of them wasn't in the media anymore. Then it kind of wouldn't be as much of a big deal. But they're both in the media. We have Jalen Rose, who's on ESPN doing his thing. He's one of the best commentators or / media personalities out there. He really is. I love hearing his takes. Right.
Is he though?
I think so. I think he's one of the best. I think he's one of the best. I think he's one of the best. I really do. I'm not gonna poo-poo on that man like that.
I don't get it, man. Like, look, I don't want to diss him. I know what you're gonna say.
Well, I'm just saying,
singing, and I don't really like his takes. I'll be real with you. I don't know if he's that great.
I think he's entertaining. Let's put it that way. Let's say he's one of the more entertaining guys out there. No, you don't even remember that? Okay, whatever, Chris.
Nah, man, he does this thing where he'll be giving his take. He'll start singing. It's like they're trying to compete with TNT, but they're not quite good enough. And Jalen Rose is the best that they got, so they're gonna roll with it.
But I'll tell you one thing.
I wouldn't say he's one of the best, bro.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think what he's doing is him. He's not out there being fake. I think that what he's doing is Jalen Rose.
I'll give you that.
And I think
just because you're being real. He's like the dude. I'm real, bro. I'm real. I don't care if you're real.
Well, I think he's entertaining. I think he's entertaining. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Chris Webber. I think that he's actually gotten better. At first, he wasn't that great to be at first. I think he was that, but he has definitely gotten better.
Oh, yeah.
I think
he has some classic calls.
Oh,
now.
yes,
he knows. Yes. Like when there's a big moment, he's right there. He knows what he's doing.
Yes, he's put some work in, and I do enjoy seeing Chris Webber there as well. It would just be fun, and it'll be grand to see these two legendary black men put it together and just do something together because of how big they are and how much they mean to the culture of basketball. So I mean, it's really sad that they have that beef, but sometimes that's just how it happens.
It's sad they have the beef, and this is what you can't take away from either one of those two individuals. They both have some great hairlines at their age. I'm telling you right now, if I get to either one of their ages, my hairline looks like that,
bad,
I'll be okay.
Bro. No, you're absolutely correct. You see, Jalen Rose has
that man's hairline is
always on point. Always on point. There's never a day where his hairline is not on point. I know Molly happy about that for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Chris Webber's hairline is great too. You hit it on the nail, but it's no comparison to what Jalen Rose got going on. He got that Steve Harvey going on. That might be fake. Remember Steve Harvey back in the day?
And then it went away though.
All of a sudden, it went away. Right.
Yeah. So Jalen, we praying for you, dog. Hope you keep your hairline.
This has been We Talk. We dissected the beef between Jalen Rose and Chris Webber. If you're watching or listening on Instagram, give us a follow. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Until next time, this has been the one and only Onye, joined by the phenomenal one, Chris. Peace.